different sectors, but all of them focusing on agriculture. So if you missed the first half of our conversation, umehata story mingi tena sana za maana na za nguvu. But allow me to introduce my guest. We do have George Irungu, the General Manager at Equity. Welcome back. Peter Karanja, the Managing Director at Agitech Seedlings, inajulikana pia kama Mazao. And of course, Paul Kapapula, the Regional Manager, or you said Territory Manager, yes, at Bayer East Africa. So gentlemen, welcome back. And I think I said that I'll start with you, George. You mentioned a couple of things. So what is the main focus as far as equity is concerned and our agriculture sector?
Thank you very much, Mbuvi, once again. And we, as I said earlier, because we look at the entire value chain, we have developed solutions that are specific to these players in the agricultural value chain. And we have Equity Bank approaches support to food and agriculture in two ways. We have what we call the social side of agriculture, but also we have the capital or the financing side of agriculture. So we have a very strong foundation, or which we call Equity Group Foundation. And within the Equity Group Foundation, we have several pillars, and among the key pillars is food and agriculture pillar. Within that pillar, the support that we give to the agricultural value chain players, and particularly the farmers, is actually on capacity building and training. We train them on several things, financial literacy, so that they can be able to know how to manage their finances. We also train them on business management skills, so that when they are running their agricultural activities, they are able to run the activities as businesses. So we actually call it kilimo biashara, as Mr. Karanja mentioned earlier.
So you actually train the customers who've now come to partner with you?
Exactly.
And this is free of charge?
Free of charge. Wow. Every training that we offer at the foundation within the pillar is actually free of charge. And besides the two, we also offer them in partnership with the other players. We also offer free training on agronomy. Remember earlier on in my introduction, I said that within the bank and within the space of food and agriculture banking, we have made sure that the people who work with the farmers are actually having a training background in agriculture.
So they're basically experts in the areas they're training?
Exactly. Okay. And actually we do a lot of field interactions. It's not just, we have employed a lot of digital approach in terms of training, so that then we can be able to reach out to many farmers and many players within the agriculture space. But also importantly, these agricultural experts have a lot of time in the field working with the farmers and making sure that they are training them on practical things. Wow. Now that's on the social side. Yes. Then on the other side, we, because when you have knowledge and you don't have capability of investing it or into it, then it becomes more or less useless.
Obsolete, yes.
Exactly. So we therefore have developed products that are very specific to support agriculture, both from the primary, all the way from the primary production to the end of the value chain, that is to the final commodity, because we have to make sure that whatever we are supporting can actually go through the value addition process, so that then the farmers can also be able to realize the real value of farming. So we have products that support farming inputs purchase, and the reason why that is important, if you want to make sure that agriculture is sustainable, we must make sure that farmers are using the right inputs, the right seeds, in certified seeds, the right fertilizer for feeding of the crops and the livestock, and also the right protection, the chemicals for protection and the inputs for protection for that matter. So we have a package that supports that. Now the beauty is that these packages are actually able to resonate with the type of production that one is doing. So if I'm doing a 3-month crop, then I'll give you a package that is able to resonate with that period. So it is cycle-based financing. So if I'm doing a long season crop, say for example I'm doing maize in the North Rift, which takes between 6-7 months, then I'm able to give you a patient input capital for the entire of that particular season. Exactly. So in addition to that, to ensure that there is a good technology adoption, we also have an asset financing within the agriculture space. So if you want to buy the technologies that are coming up, you know, drones for spraying, tractors, planters, and all that, including the very basic ones that simplify work on the farm. We have a package that also supports that. And then finally, we help these farmers in also other things that are not directly related to farming, but helping them to make sure that they are at peace when they are in the farm. Assuming you are a farmer and you have children in school, then you need to make sure that the fees is paid if you want to concentrate on your farming. So we also take care of those things to ensure that they are at peace. And finally,
did you just say you'll pay my school fees? Oh, yes. School fees for my children?
Based on farming, yes. Because your farming is your income generator.
Yes.
So I will make sure that that farming, you are doing it at peace, because you know all the other social needs are also taken care of and supported by the bank.
Mbona siku kujua mapema?
I told you we have started a good journey this morning.
Nimengangana na school fees this semester. Anyway, tutaongea.
Exactly. Yeah. And finally, the aspect of shielding the farmers from losses. So we have an insurance arm within the bank that has curated solutions for specific value chains and the types of livestock to ensure that the farmers are protected against any risk of losses due to calamities that may not be foreseen.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll circle back to you later on. And the question I want to ask him is, you know, the process of getting these particular loans, these particular finances there, like he said, asset financing as far as agriculture is concerned. So that one is definitely coming. But Mr. Karanja, I want to come to you because you're more or less the brain behind bringing all these individuals together. What prompted it? Because I'm sure even other stakeholders, so other farmers probably saw it, other people in the business of seedlings saw it, but for you, what prompted that call to action? And you brought together, like you said, over 100 farmers, 10,000, I don't know who you mentioned, and I think you mentioned 100 exhibitors and so on and so forth. I'm sure getting people like Bayer on board, you know, is not a walk in the park. So what inspired that particular spark?
Okay, thank you, Mbuvi. I think I've actually been in the agricultural space for quite some time. Under the Mazao umbrella, I have actually been a distributor of agro inputs for the last maybe 25 years. And during that particular period, I've actually been able to see gaps that have actually existed in this particular sector. And when last year, because the whole expo was actually initiated last year, when we are launching the youngest baby in under Mazao umbrella, that is Agitech Seedlings. Because Agitech Seedlings is actually a unit that propagates seedlings. Farmers are able to bring their own seed, then we propagate, and then they get seedlings from us. And that was actually a service that was very, very needed at that particular time. So during that launch of that particular unit, farmers came and the stakeholders came, and everybody actually saw value. And they actually requested that this event be an annual event.
Yeah.
So I was then tasked with the activity of now trying to look at how do I actually actualize this particular event.
Yes.
I had to lead a move with my executive committee, and we lead a moved a lot, visiting companies like Bayer, others like Syngenta, others like Yara, trying to talk to them, trying to solicit funds, trying to encourage them to come and participate. Because we actually realized that the only way to really uplift our farmers is to actually support them with a lot of knowledge. And that is not knowledge from only our own sector, knowledge across the board. Yes. Because the banking, they require funds from the bank, they require insurance from the insurance companies.
Right.
They require a lot of information. Maybe the farmer who is actually growing is also transporting. So they require vehicles to transport. So we also require vehicle companies like Isuzu to come on board. You require, they require mechanization in their farm. So we require mechanization companies to come on board. They require spraying. So they need this new technology of drones. So literally we looked at it from a multi-sectoral aspect, so that you empower the farmer in a 360-degree way. Okay. Because if you availed seed, for example, and then the farmer doesn't have resources, how is he going to farm? He will not be able to farm.
Again, it will be obsolete, just like George told us earlier.
Yeah, so we actually saw that gap. and we came in to try and fulfill that particular gap.
Okay.
And we have actually seen that there is value, because even the farmers that are now farming, we are actually having a conversation of how do you really encourage the youth to come into farming. The only way to encourage the youth into farming is actually making farming cool, so that they're attracted. And such things like now the drone aspect, the mechanization aspect,
Yes.
are making the farming a very cool kind of a subject. Yeah, and they're actually getting interested.
Okay.
So this is an area that we intend to really continue driving, and we are actually going to have even another expo next year to try and really bridge the technological transfer gap that is actually existing in farming.
All right.
Yeah.
Paul, getting back to you, we did mention earlier on about crop rotation, cover cropping, and I think you mentioned something to do with seedlings and probably doing one seed in the holes or whatever. But one question I'd like to focus on is adoption of hybrids versus open pollinated varieties and the impact on yields, which I think is more or less what you were talking about.
Correct,
so maybe you can just tell us something about that.
Yeah. Of course, earlier I spoke about the pain points. And the other pain point which most farmers face is the low yield. And of course, being subjected to climate change, where the weather is now very variable, it's not the way it used to be before. So when we talk about the seeds that we are providing, they are climate smart, in the sense that even with less rainfall, you are able to actually get something out of that.
Yes.
And that is why we don't just actually end at participating in the expo. Like in the Mwea region, Bayer has invested in a center of excellence.
Yes.
So farmers at any time after the expo, they are able to actually go there and see some of these technologies right in action. So when we talk about the seeds, climate smart seed, and I mentioned planting one per hole, and it is all aimed at increasing productivity and the yield at a farmer level. So by doing that, we are basically just answering some of the pain points which the farmers are actually facing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Interesting. Still on you, in terms of varieties being adopted in different geographical areas, what does the farmer need to know? For example, in where I come from, Kitui, might not necessarily be good for sugarcane, but I because I know maybe where Karanja comes from, sugar is doing very well, and I look at his balance sheet and he tells me, Mbuvi, I'm making money.